What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of 90 Day Fiancé, Happily Ever After, Season 7, Episode 20. Thank you, next. This is also the season finale. In a couple of weeks, we're going to be at the tell-all. So let's talk about Kim and Usman first. Let's get these clowns out of the way because they're just trolling us with all of this fake breakups to makeup and whatever else they're doing. It's just a bunch of nonsense. Let's get them out of the way. So when their segment begins, Kim, Usman, Little Mahadi, his parents, and Jamal, they're all at the amusement park. They want to spend more time with Mahadi. They want to try to get to bond with him, and also to talk to Muhammad about this whole adoption thing. So Muhammad says that while he does see the benefit of his son having a Western education, he cannot give them a final answer right now, and that he still needs to talk to the matriarch of the family, which is their mother, before he gives a decision. I pray to God, Lord have mercy. Every cell in my body is praying that Muhammad says no to this adoption fiasco, because there's just no way there's no way that Kim is going to be able to make sure that this little boy has his proper religious training, proper culture, like he's still somehow immersed in his culture. There's just no way. Even if little Mahadi was Christian, Kim still would not be able to keep up with any kind of religious training. I just don't see it happening. Kim is a very sweet woman. She's a very nice woman, but I just don't see, I mean, it's just not, I don't think it's just a part of her lifestyle or her culture to give any type of proper religious training to anybody. I think that, I just don't think it's going to work out. Whatever religion this little boy is, there's no way that Kim is going to keep up with it. So moving on from there, Jamal is leaving Nigeria, and he tells his mother that he had a really wonderful experience in Nigeria. He fell in love with the country, he fell in love with the people. Everything was fine in that aspect. Kim then asks her son, what did he think of Usman? And Jamal says that he's not 100% sold on Usman. He doesn't think he's a horrible guy, but he just isn't completely sold on Usman, especially the way, Kim is sold on him. And then Kim asked Jamal, what did he like about seeing her and Usman together? And Jamal was really struggling to give an answer because it was like crickets for the longest time and he was trying to think of something to say. So Kim had to help him out and said, well, didn't you like how happy I am with him? And so he's like, yeah. I like that. Yeah, I like how he makes you happy. And so, Usman thinks that Jamal is a little bit too involved with his relationship with Kim because, Jamal said once again, look, I'm going to let y'all do y'all, but please understand that I'm here to protect my mother. I'm here to make sure that my mother is okay. Usman says that, was really interesting. He makes it a point to say in his confessional, because he wants this on record, because I don't think it's been on record yet. So he wants to make sure this is put on record that he is adopting Mahadi out of love. He made sure to say that to us. Because the truth of the matter is, this little boy is just being used as a pawn in their twisted game. Moving on from there. So the next time that we see the next time that we see Usman and Kim, it's like the camera crew kind of caught them in the middle of an argument, right? So the camera crew doesn't even know what the hell is going on, but they can definitely see that something has been, brewing in this hotel room between them. So it basically started off, according to Kim, she says it started off with Usman nagging her about her not picking up after herself, that the room is really, really messy. So he starts cleaning up. Then it escalated to Usman talking about her weight, how she was going to need a tummy tuck, complaining about how she walks, complaining about how she dresses. And I'm thinking to myself, so this is what goes on behind the scenes with these people. He's very, very critical of her, and he just doesn't show it on camera. He always puts his best face forward on camera, but behind the scenes, he's probably, very emotionally abusive towards her. How are you going to tell a woman that she needs to get a tummy tuck? Like, seriously, how are you going to do that? And so anyways, Kim says she attributes this argument, or him nitpicking her, she attributes it to the pressure that they're both under, with him having to meet Jamal for the very first time, and then this whole complicated issue with the adoption of little Mahadi. Kim says that she's always sacrificing for him. Now, whenever she talks about how much she has sacrificed for him, that word sacrifice is a trigger word for Usman. The whole time that she was explaining, or she was talking, he was quiet. As soon as she talked about how she sacrificed for him, he came alive. He was like, you're sacrificing for me. You're sacrificing for me. He hates the fact that she's always throwing it in his face how much she has sacrificed for him, because he thinks that he has sacrificed more for her, because he has sacrificed, get this, y'all, he has sacrificed giving up a second wife. He sacrificed a second wife. Okay. He can no longer have a second wife because she's not comfortable with that. He has sacrificed all these beautiful rich women that are in his DMs wanting to get at him, because he's choosing love over beauty. Okay. So he sacrificed that. All of these other potential women that he could be with, that he would be naturally very much attracted to, he had to push them all to the side in order to cultivate this relationship with Kim, because Kim was extremely aggressive in her pursuit of him. And so he's like, if she's this much into me, this is probably my best bet to get to America. So he went along with her and had to push everybody else to the side. So she says that I am sacrificing for you because, of course, she talks about, having to travel back and forth between the U.S. and Nigeria. That's very costly. And also she talks about how she's willing to adopt a child for him. At this point in her life, she had no intentions of raising a child that's practically, a baby. She had no intentions of doing that at all. But here she is willing to raise this little boy, for him, because this is what he wants to do. Usman says, well, it's not you adopting him. It's me adopting him. And then Kim says, but it's going to be changing my life. And it most certainly will be, because I seriously doubt that Usman is going to be there for the day-to-day upbringing of this child. I seriously doubt it's going to be all 100% on Kim. So Usman talks about, okay, in his confessional, like I said before, how he has sacrificed, he sacrificed more than her. He says, I'm adopting a child for her so that I don't have to take a second wife. And the way they talk about Mahadi, they talk about him like he's just, like he's just this object that somehow is going to benefit their relationship. They don't talk about how, wow, us adopting a child together means that we're going to have an opportunity to be parents together, because otherwise we would not have that chance for us to raise a child together. Or us adopting Mahadi means that our family is going to be complete. Or us adopting Mahadi means that, we're going to be able to, give love to this child that's going to be considered our child together. They don't talk about Mahadi in those terms. They talk about him like he's just this abstract object that is somehow supposed to fit into their plan of being together. So the argument gets pretty much heated. She takes off her ring. She throws her ring at him, and then she walks out. So later on, she comes back to the room, and Kim tells him that she feels like he makes her feel like she's not good enough for him. Yeah, he does. He does make her feel that way. I agree with Kim. Yes, he makes you feel like you're not good enough for him. Usman tells her that he's adopting Mahadi for her, because of the fact that she doesn't want him to have a second wife. And the purpose of him having a second wife is to have a child. But because she doesn't want him to have a second wife, he's going to go ahead and adopt. So that's a way for him to get a child without having to upset her with a second woman in his life, or a second wife in his life. Usman says that he should have found a woman that was of his culture, closer to his age. That would have been a whole lot easier for him. And so they're going to act like, they've broken up. She's boo-hooing and crying in the closet, and, he takes his stuff and he's out of there. And so they make this really dramatic scene like they're breaking up. But like I said, I seen them the other day. They were doing a TikTok live together. Both of them were, she wasn't on the live. She was on the phone. He had her on speaker, but they were both giggling and cheesing and, acting like nothing's wrong, like everything is right in the world. So I have no time for Kim and Usman and their shenanigans. Let's move on to Ed and Liz. So when we see Ed and Liz, Liz hasn't yet made up her mind on the partnership. Ed goes off to meet his mother, and basically the meeting with his mom was just like, there was no indication whatsoever that the mom is going to be giving her blessings for Ed and Liz to be together. She's just happy to see her son. She tells Ed that, we can't be this distant from each other, this distant from one another anymore. I need you to come and see me. Anytime that you have a problem, come see me, come talk to me. I'm close by. And so they understand that they still have to keep their relationship intact. They talk about how Ed pushed his family away when he got with Liz. And he says that he had to do that to devote all of his time and attention to his relationship with Liz. And he was just trying to block out all of the naysayers. And that's why he became distant with his family. The mom tells him, the mom then gets really emotional. And then she gets emotional. Then he gets emotional. And Ed asks his mom, well, do you want to see Liz? And the mom says that she's just not ready to do that. I always say this. When it comes to the people that you're close with, if they want to be with someone that you feel like might not be the best choice for them, you're just going to have to support it and let it be, and just be there to support that relationship. Unless that person unless there's like abuse of any kind, physical, verbal, emotional, mental, if it's any kind of like a real abuse, obviously you can't support that. But if it's just because you feel like the person is with someone that may not be good enough, not equally yoked, or whatever the situation is, all you can do is support the relationship. The mother just needs to support this relationship. Ed is going to be with whoever the hell Ed wants to be with. It's Ed is the one that has to live with that woman. Ed is the one that has to sleep with that woman, not the mom. So, mom, you're just going to have to accept the situation and just support it. If it's not meant to be, then it's not meant to be. It's going to end at some point. But you don't want it to be a situation where it is meant to be for them to be together, and they end up being together for many, 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 many years. And then you're constantly on the outs with your son and your son's partner because you just can't accept the fact that he's with a woman that you just don't like. Moving on. So then we see Ed and Liz in the hot tub. Ed tells Liz how the meeting went with his mother, and he tells Liz that, my mom, she's just not ready to see you. And Liz is like, okay, whatever, because I'm not ready to see her either. Liz says that she's okay. So then Ed he says that he wants his mom's approval before he ends up marrying Liz. His mom has to accept Liz before he can marry her. I mean, look, stranger things have happened. So then Liz meets with the chef of the restaurant in Contro, and she ends up accepting the partnership because it's just too good of a deal for her to pass up. She's just going to be making a good income, and it's for her and her daughter, and she needs to think about herself and her child. So she'd be stupid to walk away from this deal. So she's going to go ahead and take it, and she knows that Ed's not going to be happy about it because she hasn't talked to Ed about it before she made her decision. So she says that she's finally doing something for herself and for her daughter. Good for you, Liz. Now we're back at the house. Ed and Liz are sitting at the kitchen table and they're having a conversation. Liz tells Ed that she did end up taking the position at Encounter, that she did accept the partnership deal. And Ed wasn't too happy about it. You would have thought that, okay, she's going to take the deal. She's going to make a lot more money. This is a great opportunity for her. Becoming a partner in this restaurant is going to open up a whole lot of doors for her, hopefully, and being excited about that. But instead, he's unhappy about it because, number one, she made the decision without discussing it with him first. And he feels like that it's going to take her away from him because she's going to be working at the restaurant so much that, it's going to affect their relationship. So he tells her, I support this as long as you support this relationship. So then she wants to talk about their future. And Ed tells her that he's not ready for marriage. So then Liz starts talking about I think she wanted to say, okay, I'm not necessarily talking about marriage, or I'm not talking about us getting married anytime soon, but she wanted to talk more about where is this going, I guess, this relationship of theirs. And Ed goes, you're not hearing me. I'm not being heard. I'm not being heard. And so Liz she tells him, will you just shut up? And I'm like, okay, what a thing to say to someone who just told you they're not being heard. So their communication falls apart right then and there. Okay, they are no longer able to communicate with one another. So she gets up and she locks herself in the bathroom, and here we go again, I guess. It's another breakup. This relationship is completely dysfunctional. It is so bad. It is so bad because I mean, they have these dramatic arguments, these dramatic breakups. Then they get back together. Then they break up again. Then they get back. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And also, um, I just feel like Ed is so extremely insecure. He is so insecure. So you're basically Ed's logic is that people who work or who own restaurants or and I understand that jobs like that can definitely affect the relationship. I totally get it. Like people who are married to doctors or married to people who are in law enforcement, jobs that require so much of your time, that can definitely affect your relationship. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I guess he wants, I don't know what to say. Moving on. Andre and Libby. So Andre and Libby, they're on their way to family therapy. Libby says that she doesn't want to cut her family completely off because she's about to have the second child. So she still needs the support of her family. And I'm thinking to myself, Libby, if you're thinking this much about your family, how you don't want to cut them off completely, you still want them to support, you want them there to support you while you're having the second child, then why wouldn't you tell them, in person that you're having this child? I mean, you want them around so bad to help you with your kid, but you didn't have, you didn't give them enough. You didn't even want to tell them in person that you were going to be having the second kid. You didn't give a damn about them at that point. You're like, well, they're just going to find out when everybody else finds out. Now you're all about, oh, I need my family. I need my family around to help me and to support me while I have the second child. It doesn't make any sense to me, Libby. So when they get to the therapist office, Libby and Andre get there. Chuck is already there, and Chuck and Andre are wearing the same exact shirt. So, Andre was just so giddy that he was wearing the same shirt as Chuck because he loves to throw it in the other siblings' faces how close him and Chuck are. So the session begins. Everybody arrives. Everybody's there. The session begins, and it's just bad. It's just bad. They argue, they yell, they scream at each other, they cuss each other out. It got so bad that the therapist had to bring out her green ball and say that whoever's holding the ball is the only one that has permission to speak. It just got bad. What do they talk about? I don't want to go into too much detail because the whole thing just fell completely apart. Like we all knew that it was going to fall apart. There's no way all these people can be in one room and talk. I think the most important thing is Libby needs to try to repair her relationship with her family. So they need to have family therapy for sure, but it needs to be without Andre. It just needs to be without Andre, without any other spouse, just the nuclear family. Okay, the parents and the children, and that's it. Because the spouses will fall in line. Okay. Eventually they'll all fall in line. So that's how it should have been. But putting Andre in there, it just was not a good idea. It was not going to be, there is no therapist in the world that can keep these bulls apart. The bulls meaning Andre and Charlie. That can keep the bulls apart once tempers start flaring. There's no therapist in the world that can contain these two people. So, Andre says that, okay, so their whole thing is the family, right? Their whole thing is that Andre got in between Libby and everybody else. The family fell completely apart once Andre got into the picture. Andre defends himself and says, no, y'all's family was already broken up before I ever arrived. And Chuck kind of supports that because Chuck said that, when him and Pamela divorced, the family was split, and some of the kids went to go live with the mom. Some of the kids went to go live with the dad. So there was already contention there right after the divorce. And, when Chuck was talking, he referred to Pamela as his ex, and Pamela goes, the ex has a name and my name is Pamela. You can refer to me as Pamela. And when she said that, I was like, girl, it seems like you're still harboring some unresolved issues with this man and y'all have been divorced for like eons. Anyways, so, okay, so she brought out her green ball to kind of control the situation. The sisters tell Libby that they think that Libby is being brainwashed by Andre or being mind controlled by Andre, that she does whatever Andre wants to do, that she no longer thinks for herself. Libby says that's not true, but Libby does say that Andre made her realize how some of her relationships with her family is fake. Some of those relationships are fake. He made her realize that, she said. She says, I realize that I have, these relationships that I have with some people in my family, they're not genuine because, we backstab each other, we're mean to one another, whatever she said. But she's like, it took Andre for her to realize that she was having fake relationships. I think she was referring to Charlie, because I think that there is some genuineness between her and her sisters. Her sisters are really trying hard to reach out to her, but maybe there's some fakeness with her and Charlie. I don't know, but I thought that was really revealing. I know that's her truth. I don't know if it's the truth, but I know that's her truth. It was very revealing for her to say that, because it's just easy to, but then again, if someone like Andre can fracture a family, maybe the family wasn't that strong to begin with, because if the family really was that strong, it would not have been that easy for Libby just to jump ship and constantly side with her crazy husband. So the mom says that Andre is isolating Libby from her. And Andre was like, yes, yes, I am. Yes, I'm doing that. I told you to your face. I'm keeping my wife away from you. Andre brings up someone reporting him to immigration. Everybody denied it. Everybody was like, we don't even care enough about you to report you to anybody. So it's nobody here. I don't think we'll ever get to the bottom of that. Who the hell knows? Moving on to Jovi and Yara. So it's the last day in Europe. They decide to spend the last day together just as a family. Jovi, Yara, and little Milo. Jovi asks if she had fun on the trip. And Yara says, yes, I had fun, except when the times that you were complaining. And I'm thinking to myself, girl, your husband was complaining all the time because you were threatening to leave him. You were threatening to stay in Europe with his child. So yeah, that's why he was complaining. Okay. Joey then apologized. He does a complete 180. He then apologizes to Yara for how he's been behaving on the trip, basically, fighting her against her staying. And, he apologized. He's like, maybe I am being a little bit selfish. And even though he apologized and said that, it didn't sound very genuine to me. It sounded like he's saying this so that later on he can get what he wants out of her. That's why he's apologizing. Not because he's really sorry, not because he really does believe that he was selfish. He's only doing this because later on he wants her to do something for him. So, Jovi accepts, he tells her, you can stay in Europe if you want to stay in Europe. And he does say, because then she'll be open to some of his ideas, some of the decisions that he wants to make in the future. For example, he really wants to have another baby. And she basically shuts him down on that. She's like, I'm not having another baby anytime soon. And so then he asks her, well, when do you think you'll be ready? And she says, Jovi, shut up. Sometimes it's best when you just don't talk. Why would she react like that? I think it's totally legitimate for him to question his wife. Well, when do you think you'll be ready to have another child? If he wants to have a child for the right reasons and not to, drag her back to the U.S. If he really just wants to have another child because he wants to have another child, then there's nothing wrong with him asking that. So I didn't understand why she shut him down. Unless, like I said, he's only trying to get her pregnant to manipulate the situation and bring her back to the U.S. So now Jovi is leaving. He's going to be gone for 3 to 4 weeks at work. And he doesn't feel comfortable leaving his wife and his child behind in Germany. He wants them to be safe. Yara says she doesn't know when she's going to return to the U.S. And because he asked her, when do you think you'll be back? And she goes, I don't know. And he says, well, I'd like to know. So I'll know whether or not I'll be seeing you when I return back home after, his little thing at work is done. He's like, I'd like to know if you're going to be there, if you and my daughter are going to be there when I return back home. And she keeps telling him she doesn't know. He's like, and he keeps pushing her. Do you think you're going to be back in a couple of days, a couple of weeks, a couple of months? What are we looking at? And she's like, I just don't know, Jovi. I don't know. And I'm thinking to myself, y'all need to talk about this. Y'all need to talk about this because there's nothing wrong with Jovi wanting to know when he's going to see his wife and child again. Y'all need to talk about this. Okay. What the hell is going on with this couple? So, they say goodbye and, little Mila, the whole time that I have seen Mila, she's always been like a really, even keel kind of child. She's always been very well behaved, very good mannered, good natured child. We don't see her throwing tantrums or, acting up. And I know she does because she's a baby, but it doesn't happen enough for us to see it on camera. This was the first time that I saw little Mila in distress. And there's no way for her to know that she won't see her dad for a while, but she can definitely feel like there's a shift in the atmosphere or there's a change in her family. It seems like she can sense it because this is the first time that I saw Mila like upset. She was definitely upset. She wanted her daddy to hold her. She wanted her mommy to hold her, then back to daddy, then back to mommy. And she was obviously distressed. So it's like the child can sense that something just is not the same anymore. So Yara does cry, and I was happy to see Yara cry because, she was kind of giving off like cold-hearted, I have no emotions kind of vibe. But it was good to see her cry, saying goodbye to Jovi. Yara says in her confessional that if Jovi treats her equally, because she was complaining about how Jovi doesn't listen to her. So if he begins to treat her more equally, then she will want to go back to the United States. So I got confused because I was like, okay, so you're staying in Europe because you want him to change. So this is like a trial separation to see if Jovi's going to be changing. Because I thought you were wanted to stay in Europe to help out your family and your friends from your home country. I'm confused. So it seems like she's using this to change him. Probably also she's going to use this to get him to stop drinking. I'm like, okay, I'm not coming back to America until you stop drinking. So that's what she's doing. She wants him to know that she's serious about if I wanted to leave you, I could, and I'll be fine without you. Because maybe initially Jovi thought, oh, Yara will never leave me because she can't live by herself in the U.S. He never thought in his wildest dreams that she would just, go back to Europe. So I guess this is like her telling him, if you don't make some changes, I do have other options. I do have a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, and none of them have anything to do with you. So I don't know what's going on. I thought she wanted to stay in Europe to help out family and friends, but it seems like she's staying in Europe to kind of give him a wake-up call. Like, if you don't change, she ain't coming back. And so, yeah. That was quite interesting. Moving on to Angela. Angela's back home. And Angela's very upset. So they're interviewing her in her backyard. And she's talking about how she had found out some really horrible news about Michael. Someone had sent her a whole bunch of screenshots of some conversations that Michael was having with another female online. And this obviously pisses her off, right? Not only was he communicating with this other female, and it was inappropriate communication, it wasn't friendly, and it wasn't his homegirl, nothing like that. He was talking to her like this is someone that they're having some kind of a relationship with. And not only was he just having inappropriate communications with her, but he was communicating with this other woman while Angela was in Nigeria on this most recent trip. He was communicating with this female, and he was talking to her like it was as if he was trying to convince this other woman to stick with him, even though he's going through whatever he's going through with Angela, like kind of like talking as if Angela's going to be out of the picture real soon. So just, be patient, just stick with me and it's all going to work out. That's how the conversation went, I think, from what I could read. And then on top of that, someone sent her a voicemail message that Michael had left for this other woman. And what really gutted Angela was that he was talking to her, to this other woman, the way that he would talk to Angela. And so that really broke her heart to hear, your husband talking in the same way and using the same lovey-dovey words with another female that he would normally use with you. So I don't know what the hell Angela's going to do. It's probably just another Kim and Usman type of thing. They act like they're mad, but they'll be back together. He'll say his little sweet nothings to her. He'll apologize profusely, make a whole bunch of empty promises. And then, her and Michael will be right back together. Moving on to Shida and Bilal. Their last night in New York. So he wants to, Bilal says that he thought this trip was going to bring them closer together. It did not do that. They argue this whole entire trip about babies. So he wants to take her to the Brooklyn Bridge because it's very iconic, historical, etc. While they're on their Brooklyn Bridge, instead of just enjoying the sights, they're talking about babies. Bilal says that he's not against having a child with Shaida. He just wants them to build a very strong foundation before they introduce a child into their dynamic. And so she's asking him, so how long? How long? How long? How long? How long? How long do I have to wait? How long? How long? When can we start having babies? So he's like, well, what about a year and a half? And so Shaida says that she can't wait that long because soon she's going to be 40. Shaida says in her confessional that baby talk is psychological torture for her, but she needs to have these conversations with him because she really wants to have a baby and she wants to know, like, when can they get started? So she also has this fear of possibly not being able to conceive. That's another thing. She wants to get started so then they can start figuring out whether or not they can actually have children naturally. And if not, then they can move on to other things. That's why she needs to know that she needs to get started sooner than later, because it's probably going to be a possibility they're not able to conceive. And going through fertility treatments, it's a very long, arduous process. Expensive too. So that's why she wants to get started as soon as possible. Bilal thinks that because he provides her with the world, he provides her with everything, that she should not having a baby should not damper her spirit. You know, he feels like, well, I give you everything you want. I provide for you. I'm giving you the life of your dreams. Not having a baby should not get you down. Like everything else that I'm doing for you should replace whatever emptiness you feel about not having a child. But he doesn't understand. You know, it doesn't equate. When you want a child, it doesn't matter if you're living in the lap of luxury. It doesn't matter that, you know, all of your wants and desires and dreams are met. It doesn't matter because none of that is a baby that you can hold in your arms. So he doesn't get it. He thinks, well, I'm giving you everything. Why are you upset about not having a baby? It's completely different, Bilal. So we'll see what happens. But when they gave us a little sneak peek of the tell-all, it looks like he got down on his knees in front of Shaida and was like presenting her with a onesie or something. Like he's ready to have a baby now. I really hope so. I really, really hope so. Because if we have to be subjected to more Shaida and Bilal in the future, I cannot go through this whole baby thing again. Y'all need to make up y'all's mind. Y'all are either going to have a baby or not. Then I'll watch y'all. Or if y'all still don't know, please stay off my TV. Because I can't go through another season. If they're going to bring Shaida and Bilal again, I cannot go through another season of are we or aren't we? Are we or aren't we going to have a baby? I can't do it. I really can't do it. That is my review of 90 Day Fiancé, the finale. Thank you so much for joining me. I do appreciate your time. On your way out, don't forget to rate the video. If you like this content, go ahead and subscribe. And I will definitely talk to you later. Bye.